Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Why Nobody Plays series. And in today's video, we're gonna be discussing on the most drippiest character in the entire game, and that is Baron Zemo. In my opinion, he pretty much just has the best design ever, especially when you compare it to the original comic book design. This is just wow. Now Baron Zemo, he's had a pretty interesting position in this game. He pretty much started out as a very overhyped character with certain videos, certain things going on over there in the back. And he definitely sort of did deserve the hype because he was pretty awesome. However, due to that hype, they pretty much nerfed this guy to the ground, and not his ability specifically, but rather just with the whole root mechanic. But before we get too much into that, like we always do with these kinds of videos, let's actually go over all of his abilities first, and then later on discuss why nobody plays him. For his medium attacks, these count as non-contact hits, allowing you to bypass a lot of things in this game. And also whenever the opponent purifies a debuff or is immune to an effect, he will gain a fury buff which increases the attack rating of his next hit by a certain amount, and the max stacks of these fury buffs is 15. All of his bleeds are indefinite debuffs that deal a certain amount of direct damage per second, and all of his personal effects can also be inflicted through the block. Now each time he enters a fight, he starts with 5 indefinite cleanse passives. However, they can't cleanse stun passives, but each time he does run out of these cleanses, he will inflict a root passive on the opponent for 5 seconds, and he will gain a resistance up passive for 15 seconds. While the resistance up passive is active, Zemo will be unable to gain any cleanses, and when he has no personal resistance up or cleanse active, he will then gain 5 indefinite cleanse passives again. Now once the opponent becomes rooted, they will be inflicted with an indefinite 50% decelerate passive, which reduce unstoppable as well as evade ability accuracy, and the max stack that you can have of these is 2. Now while the opponent is rooted, their combat power rate will be reduced by 40%, and Zemo's will be increased by 40%. Additionally, his attacks will also be unable to miss, and all his hits will inflict an indefinite bleed debuff. But moving on to the special attacks. Special 1. On activation, inflict an indefinite disorient passive, reducing block proficiency by 25% and defensive ability accuracy by 10%, and the max amount that you can have of these is 4. The final hit will also inflict an indefinite bleed debuff, and if the opponent is rooted, it'll pause the root for the duration of the special attack, and the final hit will inflict 5 additional indefinite bleed debuffs. The Special 2. The final hit will inflict a root passive on the opponent for 5 seconds, and that's pretty much it. I don't know why it's so short. And finally, the Special 3. It inflicts a non-stacking indefinite Sunder passive, which reduces critical resistance to 0 and prevents it from being increased. The attack will also gain plus 600 attack rating for each of Zemo's indefinite effects on the opponent, leading to a lot of damage. But moving on to the Awakened ability. Zemo will gain additional critical damage rating and gives him the ability to perform critical hits through the opponent's block, and when he's fighting heroes, attacks that intercept the opponent gain increased critical rating. And that is Baron Zemo. A pretty simple skill champion, yet he has a lot of utility, a lot of bleed damage that pretty much lasts forever, and also just a unique playstyle of relying on root to then do additional things, I guess. He definitely is an interesting character with an interesting playstyle. But anyways, moving on to this man's attire. Did I not already mention how dripped out this man is? Bro, look at what he is in the comics, and then look at this. Oh my goodness. This is one of the best character profile pictures, I guess, in the entire game. It just looks clean. There's nothing else to say. And then you have the lion's mane, and then, oh my goodness, this dude, man. I don't want to drag this out for too long, but oh my goodness, man. But anyways, moving on to the topic of why nobody plays him. Now, Baron Zemo, when he came out, he pretty much had a solid playstyle. He could pretty much just root the opponent for about 4 to 3 special 2s straight. He could basically stun loop, but with the root passive. He was pretty much a solid character even then. However, he did get nerfed in 3 different ways. The first one is sort of putting a max limit to the Furies, to the amount of Furies that he can have. Now this one isn't really that big of a deal, because even with 15 Furies, you'll still be able to do a lot of damage. The second way they pretty much nerfed him is by altering the root mechanic, and they pretty much made it so that even though the opponent is rooted, they'll then still be able to throw their special 3s, but that's fine, that's pretty much okay. And the third thing that they pretty much did to kill his character is allow the opponent while they're rooted to throw attacks other than just the heavy attack. They can pretty much throw light attacks and try to full combo you, which pretty much just kills the character sometimes. There's a lot of times that you can run into where the opponent just doesn't throw heavy attacks, rather they try to combo you, which just sort of defeats the whole purpose of root in my opinion. Now to be fair, the element of root itself was never really clearly defined in the beginning. However, you could clearly see that with Kabam changing the way root works and all that, it was clearly all because of Baron Zemo. It made Zemo a lot worse, as well as pretty much just killed off Kraven, and his 4 fans are left to suffer in the corner, and so he's not as reliable and as good as he once used to be. However, they didn't really change his kit too much, and so he can pretty much still do everything he was meant to do. So why does no one play Baron Zemo? In Battlegrounds, he is not as fast as most other champions. He's pretty much designed for a long-term form of content. He's not super fast in Battlegrounds and can sometimes be unable to finish fights even in his best matchups. In Alliance War as well as Alliance Quest, he's also not the fastest. However, in his best matchups, he definitely does do the fight pretty fast, but he's still not that fast. And of course, because they sort of changed the root mechanic and how it works, you can't really rely on the root to get in some clean hits, because sometimes the opponent will throw basic attacks, and depending on how strong the opponent is, you might actually die. And so Zemo, you can use him, however he is not 100% reliable. That being said, I still do love this champion. The drip is immaculate, the drip is crazy, and his animations are just really smooth. However, you can pretty much see that Kabam hates this character with a passion, because they're still yet to fix the animation with his gun thing, which looks really weird, but yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments who next I should make a video on, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!